Hey everybody, so yeah, I've promised to make a video like this for a while, and finally I'm doing it. When I started making it, I was sick, so my voice is a little bit weird in the beginning. But yeah. Oh yeah, also I told you, like, I posted on Tumblr that I was gonna like show you this hat that I made, and I never did. So I've put that at the end of this video. So get excited to, to see this hat. So I am notorious for using like a billion different things. Like I love mixed media. I love to try out weird materials. However, these are the tools that I like the most. The ones that I like. I feel like no matter what material that I'm using, I often incorporate like a little bit of these because they're my favorites, like my staples. And it is, first of all, it's this brand of acrylic paints. These are refills meant for filling up these markers. Which is basically like a Posca a little bit, just another brand. Yeah, so basically you're meant to, take off the cap and pour these in. But what I do is I just pop out open and then you can pour. And oh, as you can see, it's coming out. So we have the Molotovs. I have a few different colors that I use, and I have like a purple one and an orange one as well. And I pour paint into these or anything else really. So I really like to use that. And I also really like to use microns, any other fine liners also, but I really like microns specifically because they don't bleed when I then use water-based materials on top. There's some other markers that I have that if I use any other material on top, it will reactivate and start like smudging, but these microns do not do that, so I like that. So first of all, I feel like it really differs from piece to piece, but usually there will be one aspect of the piece that I want to draw and then the rest grows from that. So for this one, I really wanted to draw the legs. Like I really wanted to have a piece of Sharpie in this kind of pose, like kind of slouched a little bit, and then specifically her legs crossed, but not at the knee, but at the ankle. And then the rest grew from there. Then like as for other poses, like that's basically the entire process for me, is to like have one thing, oh, I kind of want to draw that, and then yeah. So I am covering this because of YouTube rules, but anyway, so for this piece, I wanted to draw the how do you say, this transition from her in this kind of space and then how she became this, or like, like it's meant to like invoke the feeling of like, oh, some change has happened, or maybe this is another character that has affected her, like there's just some kind of like a vague story going on, and that's what I wanted with this one. And then all the color choices kind of like sprung from that, right? So I started just drawing like with some yellows, and I was like, oh, what's the opposite of like yellow? That would be like turquoise and teal and blue. So then that kind of just like blended, like, so it all grows from one intention. All right, so I'm gonna try and get like to show you how I approach sketching. I'll just like try and get a general thing down, and then I'm gonna tell you my thoughts. So, okay, let's see. So immediately I was like, well, let's just do like a kind of a simple pose where I don't have to worry too much about like where she is. So I'm not gonna do a background or anything. I'm just gonna make her like, and I say her because like immediately when I don't know what to draw, I'll just draw Sharpie. It's my OC that she kind of just floats around in a like void of like, She doesn't have like a story or any kind of lore. But anyway, so as you can see already now, there's like a flow here happening. And I really try to kind of like keep it flowy. And I think that people often talk about is that you should be careful of tangents, and I definitely agree. But for some art, it depends. But again, it's about intention. But for me, I really try and use tangents to my advantage. Tangents, they can muddy up a silhouette and they can hide things. So if I want something to be kind of hidden from the viewer, well, not hidden, but I don't want them to focus on it, I want them to focus elsewhere, then a tangent is really helpful because it kind of just like makes stuff blend together, right? So there's just like, I don't know, like for example, if I really want people to like notice her tits, can I say that on YouTube? Anyway, then having them like not tangent, like as you can see, like this line under her bosoms is not tangenting with like anything, so they are in focus. Whereas this, which is like her arm going to the hand, well, it's like you're not supposed to really notice it like as much, and you know, so tangents in here, like it doesn't matter if you see her wrist, like it's just a part, it's like a part of like the figure, but it's not like a main focal point. So therefore, if I kind of just let it flow, then it becomes less and it becomes really satisfying to look at, to me at least, but you don't get like distracted by it. At least that's how I feel. Anyway, that's my intention. So then I'll draw her big what is it called? Her hair. I draw that different lengths depending on how I'm feeling. And I can already tell that I feel like it's kind of detracting from this pose or like this flow, so I'll just like draw a line so that I make sure that I'm following that. And sometimes I'll just sharpen up some lines so that I'll make sure that they kind of follow that. There we go. Give her a big smile. There we go. And I think I draw her with bangs sometimes. I'll look a little fluff. There we go. And let's see, she needs a tail, so I'll just let that follow the general flow of the body. Like, see, I didn't plan what that tail should be, but then as I'm like doing it, I know that I want this line, so I let the figure come out according, like I kind of let it do its thing, if that makes sense. And now do note, I'm 30 years old and I have been drawing since I was, well, baby. so there's a lot of this I have really like gotten to know from just doing it a lot of times. Not even like practicing, but like sometimes practicing, sure, but not even like a conscious effort. A lot of this is just like repetition. So don't like worry if you're like, oh man, this is not coming to me as naturally. It's just, you know, all that it is letting your brain get used to those new pathways, right? Anyway, then I'm gonna put her in an outfit, make her a little top thing. Let's see, belly button, and then as you can, okay, wait, need a eraser. Okay, there we go. So okay, I'm gonna mention something about sketching. So this line, everything kind of becomes like there's kind of like a push and pull pose. This line is where all the tension is, right? Like it's kind of like if you made lines that went if this was a full circle, then like let's call it a globe, and I then drew all these lines that you usually see on like globes, then they would become smaller here, right? Like as we get further away, and then the biggest part will be here. So anyway, what my point is with that is that it's nice to then kind of let stuff like kind of pinch here. It's almost like it's almost like I'm doing this, right, on the drawing. So it's kind of nice to like, yeah. I hope it makes sense. A lot of this honestly is just like me trying to let the piece naturally be what it wants to be. So yes, and then her little feet, and she's just in her underwear here because she's wild and free. Cool. So here, as you can see, like some of this is kind of overworked because I was kind of trying to show you guys how I do things. So usually I won't sketch this much. Well, that's maybe not the best way to describe it. Usually I won't go over the same lines this many times. I will get into inking like a little bit earlier than this point, because I've kind of been like going over the lines a few times to show you my process. But just to say that I don't always do this much sketching. Like usually I'll get the general vibe and then I'll just go with inks when I have all the stuff planned out. But it looks pretty much like this usually, just not like the same lines. I haven't gone over the same lines as many times usually. So anyway, let's see. So I'm gonna just use a kind of a thick. This is another marker than the one I showed you earlier. I haven't been able to find this again in any shop. Maybe I'll try and look online. I really like it. I found it at a local craft store that is now closed, which sucks. But anyway, I like them, and I'm gonna be using them for this one. So let's see. Okay, now this is the, of course, process question from the Fell Omen, but it also kind of leans into a question I got from Anonymous, anyway, which is about my line art. They asked how I get it messy and jagged, because they mentioned that they always that they feel that my art is kind of flowy. So how do I get that kind of flowy and clean look while also it looks like messy and jagged? So they asked for advice to achieve a similar look. So one thing that I do quite often is I do not go carefully. Like I just talked about with Will sketching, that I don't go over the same line many times, but for inking I actually kind of do that, I guess. Anyway, so as you can see, I'm going in this kind of motion as I'm drawing. It's not like a continuous stroke, it's like a constant little back and forth. So I mean, honestly, it's not even that I don't know how to describe. The reason why it's clean and flowy is because I have a very graphic style, which means that, as I mentioned, those tangents, I use them to hide away or like to unemphasize parts of the drawing so that you don't get all like confused. Like even though there's a lot of like weirdness in my art, you don't tend to get confused from it because I try to be intentional about where you're supposed to be looking. So the core of it is clean, and then the treatment of these like jagged lines doesn't really matter to the cleanliness of the piece, because the baseline is already clean and flowy. Anyway, and now I'm going kind of fast. Depending on the piece, I might go a little slower, a little bit more intentional, but it depends. It really depends on what it's for. And this is just a little demonstration, so I'll keep it fast. So yeah, and then I'm not too afraid of like lines going kind of weird, because that's fine. I tried to also lean in to like, so see this arm right here, I'm letting it continue into the top, and this is gonna be different for everybody because some people will have a kind of a realism to the style, and obviously then it might look kind of weird to use tangents as excessively. But for my style, it looks neat because it's stylized. Anyway, let's do her collarbone. And oops, that's fine. I really try to like go with the flow of like, what is that one that one guy, what is his name again? He does videos where he's like happy little accidents. I try to like embrace that kind of mentality. And then as mentioned earlier, because I love to use pens that don't like smudge, and which these don't either, just like microns don't. So even if I make a mistake, then I'm like, no, this really does just like mess up my drawing and I don't like it, then I'll use my acrylic paints or another like method of like maybe a post-it on top or whatever to just like kind of edit it. So I try to work with mistakes, but then if I'm just like no, this goes against like the piece and I don't like it, then I'll just fix it with correction ink or something. Now let's see, because like the line here at the belly, I'm not sure that I want to keep that like this line right here, because I feel like it kind of muddies up the flow, so that I would change. Let's just get this finished so that we can move on to the next question or like another part of the process. Anyway, so to answer Anonymous's question, the flowiness comes from the fact that I am very intentional about like what I want the audience to see and what I want to focus on, like what I find fun about the drawing. And in this case, I would say it is the pinching here I really enjoy, and then I enjoy the flow of this shape, which I actually think I could have done a better job. It's kind of weird, but it's demonstration. I'm sure you can forgive me. Just gonna try and get, and then I'm also like, I like to try and get a mix of how do you say, a mix of straight lines and really curvy lines. So this line is super curvy, but then some of the, I'm gonna do some really straight and like almost like nonsensical, kind of like really like pieces of hair, because it just gives a fun, like, I don't know, like a dynamic feel there. Actually, I think her smile should have been bigger, but it's fun. It's fun. We're good. I'm gonna give her a bit more of an eyeliner. There. And I mean, that's close to done, like as far as line art goes, for this little demonstration. Yeah, I mean, it was fun. And let's see if there's any other advice for this. Well, I'll say don't be afraid of mistakes. Also, don't be afraid to just cover stuff up. Like, don't be too afraid to make mistakes, because you can always cover them up. You can always like, so it's really not like, I feel like it can kind of feel like if you make a mistake, then you've ruined the piece, or like it reflects on your worth. But if we can kind of abandon that mindset and just be like, we don't like, it doesn't matter if I mess up this picture, because I can just like either go with the flow or go in a different direction with it. I don't know if that makes sense, but if we try and embrace that kind of like mindset, that it's not dangerous to make mistakes, because there's always like an opportunity to either correct it or redirect it or go with the flow, then it becomes less scary. This paper is actually not really good for using like wet media on it, so it's fine. It's fine. But if you start to see some crinkling, then that's why. So yeah, and then I'll do this kind of stuff, like just kind of clean up some lines, see what happens. And that's how I do line art. And then after this, I could of course decide to go edit with some markers. Now that I've used white on it, of course the markers will react differently. So that's something to be aware of, like how your materials work together, but that's a matter of trial and error. So anyway, I hope this helped. Like maybe get inspired to try something similar. Yeah. So yeah, maybe I'll post this later, like with color or something. This next question has been asked by Fur Modernist and also Anonymous and various others. And it is about my art inspirations. I'm gonna be putting some Instagram accounts here that I like lately. Some of them I've been following for days, some years, so it's just, what's captured my interest lately. I wanted to do something that wasn't just linking accounts, so I'm gonna be showing you some books from my bookshelf that I like. First up, this book, which I can't actually read. I bought it years ago, and I just love the art style. This is the inside like cover. It actually has a sleeve, which looks like this. It's really cool. I really love it. I don't know what it's about. Is it something about, I don't know, like space travel? They don't travel to space. It's about UFOs or something. Anyway, I just think the art is so good. It has there's a lot of spot blacks, and a kind of like cartoony style, and I just love it. I haven't even checked, like maybe at this point it's been translated, but well, maybe I should actually look that up. I would love to know what it's about. Well, it's certainly super beautiful, so I just love looking through it, and it's really inspiring, I think. Yeah. So that's the first one. I love the inside cover here. Like, I think it's so cool. Yes. So, first one. The next one is also one that I got at the same time, years ago. Did I? Well, it's years ago anyway. So the slipcover is this. It's really, really cool. It's cool, and the style is a little bit similar in that it's kind of stylized. This is the inside cover. I love it. Again, a story that I don't know what it's about. I just love the art, and this looks great. A bit more simplistic, but again, it has these spot blacks, so really into that. Yeah, it's awesome. It's awesome. I don't really read a lot of manga or watch anime at all, so there's just a lot of stuff I don't know. Like, maybe this has been translated too. I don't know. I don't keep up with this stuff. It's something maybe I will look into more of these kind of titles, but either way, I have these. They look great, and I thought they were nice to like show you together. I'm gonna show you another one now. It's just I really want more furry comics in my collection. I haven't, because of like, I mean, buying physical comics is quite expensive, so most of my comics are bought years ago at this point. But I would really love more furry. And what I mean is that I've only recently started, like within a year or two, started drawing furry art, and now I'm just like really love to yeah, to like get more. Next one, Funky Town. This is really cool by Piao. I mean, not by Piao, but Piao published it. It's by Mathilde van Geloof, and it's just really cool. Has shiny on the front, which is my big dream. When I publish a comic, I want shiny silver detail. All right, and if you notice I'm shuffling a bit, is because I have to be kind of careful because the way my camera setup is, I have a limited space. Anyway, this is a really, really beautiful comic. One that I can actually read. Haven't read it for a little bit. It's so cool. It's like a very cool pencil line art sketchy style, and it's cool. It's like it has some really cool themes of identity and past and present and people with issues, and it's just really beautiful. And I feel like I can't show you properly because of the like weird, like I have to be careful with the camera, but hopefully you can see some of the nice textures. It's just so beautiful. Yeah, it's really awesome. Yeah, so that's this one. Really beautiful and awesome. I got an anonymous question asking me how often I make new OCs. I think that, as far as I remember, the question asker mentioned that they make a lot of new ones. And, well, my experience with OCs I've always wanted to make a lot of them. But I've never really been that kind of person. I tend to only make OCs for, like, specific purposes. Scram Rats asked me on Tumblr, what was the catalyst for realizing that I'm a lesbian? So that's a different question from the other ones. Usually people ask me about art stuff, but this one is nice. I love it. I would love to talk about it. Well, there wasn't any big happening, nothing like huge. It wasn't like, I don't know, I read something, saw something, and suddenly this dawned on me, damn, I'm a lesbian. It was more like a lot of different things. I had always been into just women, like, always. When I was a kid, I didn't categorize it as such. I thought everybody just thought women were beautiful. And I thought everybody, like, as I became a teenager, I thought everybody were attracted to women. I thought that was universal. Then as I got older, I don't know, I started being kind of afraid of using the word, not because I thought it was bad, but because I felt like I was intruding in a way. There's this feeling of, well, I can't say for like 100% sure that I'm never gonna not be a lesbian, you know what I mean? Like, I can't see the future. So therefore I can't label myself as anything, so I have to keep it vague, which is a silly thing, because that means nobody can call themselves anything ever, which, you know, you should and you can call yourself whatever you want. So it's just, yeah, that was the logic I was working from. But then, anyway, I'm 30 now, and about 2.5 years ago, I realized that I was just like, I really want to be a lesbian. Like, I had an urge to be a lesbian. And I kind of joked about it at first with my wife. Like, I remember one of my friends, he was like, well, why aren't you a lesbian? Like, you can just do that. You can just be one. And I was like, no. But then one day I was like, okay, I just want to try the label on, and we'll see what happens. And it only took a few days after that where I was like, okay, I'm a lesbian. I think it was very much about allowing myself uncertainty and just being like, well, if you feel like you are, then you are. Like, you don't need anyone's permission. and you don't need to prove anything to yourself. You can just feel what feels right, and you can change it later if it doesn't feel right. I feel right now, like currently in this moment that I'm recording, I feel confident that I'm a lesbian. I look back at my experiences and I see the experiences of a closeted lesbian. But I'm at peace with the fact that I don't know the future. And I think that was what made. I mean, if you want a catalyst, if you want me to mention a catalyst for realizing that I was lesbian, it was coming to peace with the fact that I don't know the future, and I'm allowed to call myself what feels right in this time, like in this moment. And that is good. And that is the questions. That's the video. Thank you so much for watching and listening. And well, here's your reward. I promised I would show you the hat, and here it is.